Hi guys, alright, we're going to do a Nelson Mandela effect today. If you do not know what that is, honestly the best way to kind of wrap your mind around it is to just YouTube Nelson Mandela effect, but I'll give you guys a basic idea of what it means. Short, it's where thousands and thousands of people all have the same exact memory of something happening that technically didn't happen. So, and it's named after Nelson Mandela because that was, I guess, really one of the first effects that shocked everybody, but thousands and thousands of people had the exact same memory that he died in the 1980s. But if you look up his death, he died in 2013. So it's just a very shocking thing. And even though I wasn't an adult in the 80s to have that same memory as thousands of other people who believed he died then, but I do remember the same effect with Gene Wilder, who played Willy Wonka and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Just off the top of your head, when do you have a memory of Gene Wilder dying? I could have sworn he died in, I thought was the 90s, but no. He died in 2016. How did he just die 4 years ago? So it just, yeah. But today's Nelson Mandela effect is actually not about them, but there are so many out there. I mean, you could just really kind of dive off, and the mystery is why is it that we all have, and thousands of us all have the same memory? It wasn't like with Nelson Mandela, it wasn't that, you know, tens of people thought, oh, he died in 1985, and then 30 other people thought, oh, it was 1982. No, thousands and thousands of people have the same memory of the same year of death and the same location, etc., which is kind of bizarre, right? So the same thing goes for Mickey Mouse. There's a whole effect on Mickey Mouse and his suspenders, and at first when I started watching these Mandela effects, I thought, well, maybe in some of these cases, maybe not pertaining to people, but maybe like things like cartoons and etc., maybe they just changed. Maybe the Mickey Mouse organization changed the way Mickey Mouse looks. Or the Monopoly guy. When you think of the Monopoly guy, don't you automatically think of him with his spectacle? Yes? No? Well, apparently Monopoly guy never had a spectacle ever. And it's like, but how do thousands and thousands of us remember him in that way? As a matter of fact, I remember watching Ace Ventura. I think it was the second one. I don't remember which Ace Ventura it was, but in that movie, Ace Ventura goes to some party and there's a guy who has the spectacle on, and Ace Ventura like picks him up or does something. He's like, do not collect go, or do not pass go, do not collect $200. He had the spectacle on because otherwise you wouldn't make the distinction that he was the Monopoly guy, because that one accessory screamed the Monopoly guy. But apparently it's never been part of Monopoly, and that's why it's deemed the Mandela effect. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why is that? If the companies never changed the Monopoly guy and he never did in fact have a spectacle, then what does it mean that we all remember him having one? And that gets into further deep things, which I'm gonna sort of talk about today, which is the concept of like either time. It's really from what I've read and watched videos on, it's about basically time travel, where it does exist, and some, because they're time traveling, it has like those little effects on the way things are kind of happening now. Another huge one is the Bernstein Bears book. I absolutely believe that Mandela effect 100%. I definitely owned some of those books when I was a kid, and I remember it being spelled the the way with the E and the A, like it's a whole thing. I know I'm diving off, but we still technically haven't gotten to the one that I want to talk about today. I feel like I could honestly just do a whole sit down video about this, and I'm gonna continue some of these, especially if you guys love them, but today I actually want to focus on one in particular that directly impacted me, just so that I can kind of introduce the Mandela Effect series for Weekend at Marie's, but it is with Chick-fil-A. So when I first started learning about Mandela effects, which I did through Kendall Ray, I never knew it was even a thing. In the back of my mind, I always just, when it came to Chick-fil-A, I thought, oh, they changed their name, like they changed how they spelled it, and never thought anything of it. But apparently, it has always been spelled C-H-I-C-K. And I'm telling you right now, it has not been spelled that way. But if you Google images, if you look up like just Chick-fil-A, and I think they like even addressed it at one point and said, no, we've always been spelled Chick-fil-A. I think it was founded in 1946, which I didn't even know. We didn't have any Chick-fil-A's when I was growing up, like in the early 90s. It wasn't until the early 2000s when I had my daughter that I started even seeing Chick-fil-A's. So I don't even want to dive into like the founded year, but listen, if you know that there's been Chick-fil-A's around for a while, just comment down below. But I personally, in Dallas, did not really start seeing them until the early 2000s, but also I was a mom at 18, and that's when I was basically, you know, driving a lot and going to work and really paying attention to the world around me. So this isn't about the year that Chick-fil-A was founded. It's about the spelling. So what's interesting about this Mandela effect is that there are thousands of people, just like me included, who specifically remember Chick-fil-A being spelled C-H-I-C, F-I-L-A. So the F-I-L-A hasn't ever changed. It's the chick part that gets me to no end. And this is where it gives me the hardest goosebumps, because while I do struggle, you know, with like memory, I don't remember everything all the time, but this Chick-fil-A memory, I remember to the point. I can see my cell phone, and I was texting on it, and I remember thinking to myself, I was asking someone if they wanted Chick-fil-A, and I remember specifically telling myself to spell it correctly, because like in a previous text conversation, I had spelled it C-H-I-C-K and thinking this is wrong. And so fast forward, there I am in this text message, and I'm like, because I'm just a perfectionist like that, that's just how I've always been, and I try to make sure like I spell everything right, but I remember specifically going C-H-I-C, because that's what it was spelled like. And I remember looking at my phone, and it like tried to change it to C-H-I-C-K, and I backspaced and removed the K. You guys, this is a true, like this is mind-blowing. And if you go to Google and like, let's say you Google Chick-fil-A 90s and click on images, it will show you stores from the images of what they look like in the 90s. And even then, it shows C-H-I-C-K. And it's like, that cannot be, because I know that it was spelled C-H-I-C. And it's just mind-boggling. There's another couple who talked about the Mandela effect of this and their own personal experience. So they were married at the time that this effect kind of took place, and they had their own joke together. So their own joke was, hey, you want some chic filet? Because nobody could understand why they would have spelled it C-H-I-C. Like, even I didn't get it. I'm like, why is it spelled like that? Why isn't it spelled with a K? But it was not spelled with a K. And this couple at the time, late 90s, I think early 2000s, they said that they had their own running like joke together. Hey, you want to get some Chick-fil-A or whatever. And that's because thousands of us remember it being spelled with a C. But apparently that never existed. It never happened. And you guys, when I tell you, I remember me compiling that text in that way to make sure I spelled it correctly. That's because that damn store was spelled C-H-I-C from my memory. So anyways, a time travel occurred. I know how crazy that sounds. Like, trust me, I get it. Why couldn't it be a thing? So basically, maybe, if we all do remember it being spelled C-H-I-C, but then all of a sudden it never was, maybe somebody time traveled in maybe further back, right? And whatever in that time travel had impact to the spelling. And I'm not suggesting, not to take this even further deep, but to kind of explain this a little bit further, I'm not suggesting that somebody time traveled to specifically change the name. No, that's not what I mean. The best way I can describe this is watch the movie Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow. It's basically about how she goes to the train station and she makes it to the train on time. And then her life, because she made it to the train on time, the movie shows you like what her life was like because she made it on time. But then they also showed you what happened when she missed the train in the same exact moment, and how basically one single moment changed literally the course of Gwyneth Paltrow's character in this movie. And that's how I guess I can kind of explain how the time travel could have affected the Chick-fil-A concept. Not that somebody time traveled, again, for Chick-fil-A, but that maybe, in passing, one bump to another person, maybe another person was, you know, kind of coming up with the concept of the name Chick-fil-A or whatever it was, and then maybe it just was like a ripple domino effect. So anyways, comment down below, let me know like any effects that you've personally experienced, or if you have a story about Chick-fil-A in the name. But yeah, so that was it. I just don't be overly, you know, like, I just wanted to make this lighthearted. I don't feel like in any way, shape, or form scared about it whatsoever. It just kind of like gives me goosebumps to think 100% without a doubt, I remember it being spelled differently. So anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Give it a thumbs up and definitely let me know if you want more, because I could go on and on. So that's it. I know I just went into like a really like outer space alien range, but there you have it. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you next time.